All right, well, welcome everybody. Good Monday morning. And Alan, thanks for joining me for another coffee chat. Oh, yeah, what we got today?
You know what this is?
Oh, here's my Odoo cup.
Hey, look at
This
all
is
the
a
card
gift
talk.
from
Yeah. Right.
This is a gift from Jason Hamlin. Shout out to Jason Hamlin for sending me a vintage Instalogic cup.
That's great. Shout out to Water for Good. And that's one of my donor mugs from maybe 2018, 2019. Get a new donor mug. Water for Good Mud Love every year.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have one of those. You know, I collect coffee cups, Jeff. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yeah.
So this opportunity to have coffee chat is like, it empowers me to have a reason to keep all my coffee cups, because I'm always being told you need to get rid of some of them. I'm like, I can't. I got to have a selection.
I see one up on the wall up there. Even
you know what that one is?
Yeah.
You know what it says? Best dad ever. Bought it for myself for Christmas.
It's like a little Office reference there.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Well, hey, good morning, David. Hey, Kevin. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for the invitation.
Just in case somebody's watching this later on or right now and doesn't know who you guys are, let's do proper introductions. So Kevin is president of Ectobox, a system integration group out of Western Pennsylvania, really mainly Pittsburgh area, right, Kevin?
Yeah, we're based in Pittsburgh, addressing a lot of the market around the U.S.
Yep. All right. So coast to coast, just Pittsburgh's where you call home.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Does that make you? I've just got to know. Does that make you like the diehard, typical Pittsburgh sports fan?
It makes everybody assume I'm the diehard Steelers fan. We're a Pirates fan, but this isn't the year for Pirates. But
hold on a second. What do you mean this isn't the year?
What year was that, Kevin?
Okay, yeah.
I think it was 1979
and 69 as well. Yeah, or
69. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And both, yes.
Yeah. All right.
It's been a long time. It's been a drought here in Pittsburgh, baseball drought.
Yeah, that's the funny thing, right? Like Pittsburgh is such a championship city, but for some reason the baseball side of it in the last 50 years just hasn't been, or 40 years hasn't been able to figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. And so Ectobox focuses primarily in what type of verticals?
Verticals for our MES IoT systems integrator kind of work. We focus a lot on discrete manufacturing, some pharma, some chemical. We happen to have, just based on our geography, there's a whole lot of discrete, high mix, low volume for small, mid-size, and some enterprise companies as well. Cool.
And I've had the personal experience of working with y'all on the Canary side of things as Canary partners, and we are very appreciative of the clients that we've referred to Ectobox because every time we've done that, you guys do a great job of hearing the client's need and actually getting a project through a proof of concept into deployed solutions. And so thank you all for that.
Yeah, it's working really well, and the love goes both directions as well. We're bringing in more clients as well. I have a couple we're working on right now, which I'll be talking to your guys about. So it's good stuff.
Cool. All right. So David.
Yes.
G5 Consulting and Matrix Technologies. You're wearing some hats.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's sort of my hobby. It comes out in many different ways. So since I think we're going to be talking a little bit about the Mastermind this morning, I started my own deal right before the pandemic hit. I can tell you, if you ever want to go out on your own right before a pandemic is not the best time to do that. Having said that, 2020 provided the opportunity to meet great people like, you, Jeff, and Kevin. And it's just been amazing since then. And so now I'm also part of the Matrix Technologies group, and I lead their solution architecture. So all the things that I've learned here in the last 3 years and over the 25-year career, it's all come into play. So it's all good stuff. So, and a big fan of the Canary solution as well. You guys make it easy and fun. We love using the solution because we know we're going to get supported no matter what we're doing. So it's good stuff.
Thanks, guys. That's kind of you, but we're not here to talk about Canary. We're here to talk about you.
This is true.
But yeah, so that's how I got to know you guys. And Alan, how did you first meet David and Kevin?
You've introduced me to both.
Okay.
So I got an opportunity to have a conversation with David, and it was really a uniting of kind of passion and kind of that whole architectural solutions, and so we kind of connected there. And then with Kevin, I got the chance to do a virtual workshop.
Okay.
So me and Kevin met, really preparing for that and getting ready for that. So yeah.
Okay. Well,
I can tell you that from those two experiences and others, because of this Integrate Live, it's amazing to not just be able to meet these different, very talented and way smarter than me people that have been able to impact the industry, but man, I'm just blown away by the generosity and the kindness and help, and so it's been great.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the big topics here of the conversation, and I would add a lot more to that. This kind of culture that we're all buying into, and I guess we've in a way kind of helped establish through all of our companies and this Industry 4.0 stuff and other organizations we're going to talk about. It makes sense, and there has been a ton of value that we've gotten from that whole culture and mindset and network, and we're doing our very best to give as much back or more into that whole network too. It's good stuff. Really powerful. Huge.
Could you imagine a world where every time that somebody comes into a community, their goal is to actually give back more than they take? Like that would be incredible if
this
that was
kind of stuff that makes the world go around.
Yeah. I will say that's one of the features of 4.0 is that all of these different people, they're wearing different hats and different companies that are coming together to solve some amazing problems. It's pretty cool. And I heard it said, 20 years ago, the companies that really succeed are those that learn how to collaborate and work together. And it just seems like with this whole Industry 4.0 transformation, that's one of the things that's come out of it. So it's just such a great time because that's just how I'm hardwired. Always work together to do things, and one of my core values as a person, as an organization.
That's awesome. So how did you guys meet then? David and Kevin, sorry. How did the two of you meet?
It was through the Industry 4.0 Digital Factory Mastermind. I believe we were on that first call in September 2020. Is that right, Kevin?
Sounds about right, yeah.
Okay. Can you give us a little bit of background, a little history? What is Digital Factory Mastermind? How did it come together? Walk us through, if you would, like that timeline up to the point you guys met.
So the background of 4.0 Solutions is an education and outreach piece of, so Walker Reynolds, he owns Intellic Integration and several different companies. This is his educational outreach piece. So his background is in education, so it's part and parcel for the things that he does. And the idea is that how do we, knowing with Industry 4.0 and all the digital transformation that's going to need to occur within the U.S., so their mission is to save and create middle-class jobs, realizing that there's a huge skill gap within the community for people that do the things that are going to need to do to be able to execute these projects. And so what 4.0 did is first started this community where people could just come together. It says, like-minded thinkers of coming together and working together to solve these problems. So right into that collaboration piece. But from an education of in standing up a business, is there, how do we generate revenue so we can continue what we're doing? So there is the mentorship that teaches people how to execute the projects. And then there's the Digital Factory Mastermind or Digital Mastermind or Mastermind. It gets referred to as several things. that's for the people that are going to lead these digital transformations. So it's not only technical skills, it's a lot of leadership skills. It's how to work with people. So there's a lot of skills that are there. But I want to be very clear that if all you do is learn technology in the community, you've really missed an opportunity. It's just a great group of people to come together.
Okay.
So yeah. So Kevin, something you might want to add to that?
I think it really started, like I said, with Walker, and he owns Intelligent Integration. Really intelligent guy, had a lot of success as a systems integrator, working for other systems integrators. Ended up creating his own, and as a really smart guy, created a really good company. And he started to establish this kind of culture, this open sharing, let's work together in his company itself. And then based on, like you said, his background, he then started to connect this systems integrating, open culture. It's almost like a nice triangle. And the what was the third piece of the triangle? I forgot. Just combining all of these ideas together. Oh, his sociology and education background, combining them all together to say, hey, let's do this for other people as well. Let's add more value to the community than I've received. And so then that's where he started to create these programs, if you will, I guess, the mentorship and the mastermind. Okay. And then 4.0 solutions came out of that, and it's just really gone. So I like to look back at the history of things to figure out where things have come from, to understand where that passion comes from, and it's strong and it's deep with him, and that program really makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So it's funny because so Walker and I have known each other for a while, and I think we both speak kind of the same way of our friendship, and then we have our professional relationship as well, but really it's based more in friendship. I learned about this idea of 4.0 solutions and always thought of 4.0 solutions as the Discord server, right? Just this kind of the community where a whole bunch of people have joined and they just ask questions, they talk about things. But it took me a long time to understand the mastermind, and I don't know that I completely still understand it. So
I've got a lot of questions too. And I'm actually thinking about a guy who I've met because of our Integrate Live, and Jeff connected me with him, and his name is Keith Lighting. And so Keith has this passion for wanting to learn the industry 4.0 piece, right? How do we do whether it's manufacturing 4.0 or industry 4.0, those pillars, right? How do we do that better? And even to the point where he's thinking, well, maybe I even need to change my job so that I can really put myself in a position to learn these things. And so as I'm thinking about conversations I've had with Keith, I'm thinking about, okay, what, somebody like Keith, who has a full-time job, who actually really loves his job and has gotten a lot of good opportunity, but feels like he's missing some components, right? Is Mastermind that place where he could get plugged into and really be able to start expanding his knowledge, but also being able to expand his network so that when he has questions, or if he's like, hey, I need to know, my company I'm working for, we're thinking about doing X, Y, or Z. Well, David is a solutions architect. I reach out to David and talk to David, or talk to Kevin, or these people that are part of this. And so if that is the case, I think it is, what kind of commitment can Keith expect as far as how much time, having a full-time job and then being a part of the mastermind program, what kind of time is it going to take from him to really, do this program in excellence, right? And putting his whole self into it, really getting the most out of it. But what kind of commitment is that his family will have to take on too, right?
Dave, how about I take a first part at least a lot of what is in the whole program, at least the mastermind side of it, and then you can take the time piece, because it's a huge open question. Like you said, exactly. You get out what you put into it.
Hey Kevin, real quick, can you give us a differentiator from mentorship to mastermind? Because there's two programs, right? There's mentorship and there's mastermind. Just a real quick 10 seconds on what each is. And before because I don't know, is mastermind the right place for a guy like Keith, or is it?
I didn't know there was a second program called mentorship, so I've got a whole bunch more questions. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
two pieces. Dave mentioned this earlier. 10 seconds. Mentorship is the technical piece. If you want to learn Python, if you want to get into Ignition, if you want to get into Factory Studio, if you want to get into learning databases, you're the person, hands and feet getting into all the pieces to make the solution actually work and want to learn a lot of new stuff. Mentorship is perfect. If you are the person working more on the strategic and the architecture side of things, the mentorship is a great place to be. People who are doing the technology stuff and have the time and the position where they need to do the strategy stuff as well, maybe they should be in both. Bigger time commitment, but both are incredibly valuable.
Let me just make sure I heard you say mentorship twice. So mentorship is the hands-on, learn how to build something in Python.
Yeah, it's the execution piece.
The execution. Yeah. Mastermind is the strategy,
solutions architect,
solution lean piece.
It's leading the transformation efforts. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So you've got a guy like Keith, and Keith loves his job, but he doesn't feel like he's learning everything he needs to be able to direct his company the right path. It sounds like to me this is a mastermind guy.
If he is directing, if he's leading, if he's involved in some of the strategy conversations, has a seat at that table,
or wants to be, right? Wants to be equipped to be invited. But if Keith's boss comes to him and says, "This is the way we're now headed. I need you to be a pro at Ignition and how to implement it," then that is, he says, "Hey, I need to talk to someone on mentorship about how to get all the skills I need and the knowledge I need to do this well."
And the mentorship gets you not only the Ignition and the Factory Studio piece and the Python piece, but a lot of other topics you really ought to know to be doing that kind of thing as well. Plus some, Dave can speak to this more than I, because I've been mostly in the mastermind rather than mentorship. But there's also a lot of overarching Industry 4.0 ideas, architecture strategies that one should know universally. And that stuff is in there as well, just so you know where your piece is in the whole big picture kind of thing.
I mean, so it's all connected, right? You can't isolate one from the other.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you guys then would say, to answer Alan's question for Keith, it sounds like he would consider Digital Factory mastermind. What does that look like? What's the time commitment? What's the, that now, Alan, I think the rest of your question, how's that impact his family? Yeah.
So to build on what Kevin said, it's what you put into it is what you get out of it. So within mentorship, there is a monthly call, and it's where you learn some kind of skill set within a software platform. And then there's also what's referred to as the step training. So within step one, what you learn is exactly what the engineers at Intellic Integration learn, which is Python, SQL, MySQL, and Ignition platform. And you can do the core certification on Ignition, and then you also will do a 99-step practical. And so when you finish that up, it's more hands-on. There are some people that have been able to complete that step one training in 2 weeks. That's impressive. Most people, I would say it's about a 3-month journey. It just depends on how much time you have available, family commitments, those types of things.
But that's mentorship, right?
And that's mentorship, exactly.
Okay, for sake of clarification, let's park mentorship out of our conversation.
Okay, fair enough. There's two things here. So coming back to the mastermind, there's also a monthly call. It's a little bit longer. It's where you're learning some more architectural type applications, but there's also some soft skills that come into that. So leadership is certainly one of those. Just understanding when you're in meetings, looking for, building up those teams, knowing that you need to have full stack fluency, but you can't know everything. So you always need to go in and do things as a team. From a time commitment outside of that call, I really wouldn't say there's any specific time commitment. It's just how much technical knowledge do you want to have? And I can't stress enough that what you put into it's what you get out of it. What you see behind me, and I have a whole VM host where there's just tons of software that's running. I don't go bowling or go to games. This is where I am. It's my hobby, but my family gets it because we're very technical in that sense. So it's hard to answer the question specifically in terms of what's the time commitment, other than one monthly call a month for about 3 hours, because you want to apply those in some way, because you're just not going to get the value just by attending.
Right. One, I think to get the most out of it, you're going to have to be kind of a self-motivated, right? So the whole point is, if just me listening to you, the way I would walk away from what you said is, you're going to spend 3 hours a month that's going to set a trajectory for the rest of your month. Okay, this is I've gotten this kind of foundational base. Now I need to build on that over the next month before my next call, so that I'm prepared to go to the next step. Would that be accurate?
Yeah. So there's that sort of I do. So you spend the call where we'll walk through the technology. There's kind of the we do, which is you go back and watch it and you build your own, whatever that happens to be. And then there's just the I do of, now all of a sudden you come across an opportunity like one we just had here recently, that I take that application and I apply it to a particular project and develop that out. And then just really it forces you to think about, how do I go about solving this particular problem? And that's the only way to do it is by applying it. So yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it does set the trajectory. Great way to summate that.
I would say, give a perspective. I don't get down to the technical level like David does. I have been a software developer in the past, but that's not my role now. It's business owner, strategy, all that kind of stuff. And so my focus has been Mastermind only, not the technology. Already know databases, already know coding, but I'm not getting into Ignition because that's not my role in my company right now. That's what we work with other people to help us do on projects. We pull together as a team and do that. So my focus has been Mastermind. So I'm on those monthly calls. I'm reading and reviewing the materials afterwards. I'm usually watching the recordings afterwards at some point to catch up. Oh, what was that? Oh, that was a really good idea. Let me review that. For me, it might be as much as 10 or 15 hours a month in total to review the content and whatnot. The question also is around the idea of, you get out of it what you put into it. Well, I might have a call with David. Hey, David, well, this idea, or this, can you explain this piece to me? Or let's talk about this, or let's start to implement this idea. Or I connect with other people on those calls and the conversations we have, and the people that I've met in the Discord, like Dan and Mario and Brendan and everybody else. Like, let's get on some calls and let's talk. Let's go through these ideas. Let's exercise some ideas. And some of the topics that we go through, I've been, during part of this conversation, looking through the OneNote that we get as a member of the Mastermind. Starting in September 2020, Walker started off with the basic foundational principles, architecture ideas, 4.0, unified namespace, what it all really meant. And during every call, he would repeat these basic concepts and principles. And it was that repetition that got it through my thick head. And then he would start to talk about the pieces of that whole IoT ecosystem, the nodes on that network. What is ERP? Eventually, we got to MES and how the MES systems work. We talked about digital transformations, what makes up a digital transformation, how to do assessments to help companies go through this process of a digital transformation. The DTMAs, Digital Transformation Maturity Assessment, ridiculous levels and unbelievably valuable levels of detail on the DTMA. Leadership training, supply chain, I'm just glancing through a bunch of stuff. Data ops with the HiBite tool, a lot of really, really good content. Introducing us to a whole lot of tools like Canary, like TatSoft, the Factory Studio tools. There's a bunch of really good stuff. AWS, that was a really good one too.
Okay. So it's giving you a full exposure,
huge,
to all of the different tools and skills that you need to drive.
And how they all work together, the strategies, the architecture for how they work too. Yeah.
Who typically teaches or hosts these monthly calls? Who do you have access to if you're part of that program?
So Walker Reynolds leads those every month. And of course, you referred to earlier, there is a 4.0 Solutions Discord server. Yeah. There is a Mastermind channel that is for people that are enrolled in the program. And so you can ask questions there. If you need, you can gain. Well, if you ask a question, it will get received because that has a priority within the community as well. So there's that access as well.
So I've got a question.
Yeah.
Sell Keith's boss on why Keith should go to this thing.
Well, and you're right. And what's the cost of this thing that we have to sell Keith's boss on?
Well, it's not a cost; it's an investment.
Oh, nice.
There you go. That's
So
what
I will
answer
answer
that Mastermind, because that was really good.
Well, my background is business development, so I have to get around the purchasing guy and the how much the cost is, right? My personal experience, and this is shared by many within the community, it has been game-changing for the career because you learn the technical and the leadership skills you need in order to help an organization digitally transform. So most of the time we think of digital transformation as just the manufacturing company that's going from, clipboards and sneakernet to tablets and internet, but it also means technology providers. It means systems integrators. It also means people like you and me. I mentioned earlier that one of the features of 4.0 is collaboration. It teaches us how to do all of these things and digitally transform every aspect of the things that we're doing. So I can tell you within that short period of time, you can go from being very non-technical and maybe not a strong leader to being very technical and a strong leader. Somebody, as the owner of a company, you want people with these skill sets. It's been popular. Cheryl McCrary, she's in the Discord. She one time, we used to do these community Q&As, and she said, I found my tribe. And that's exactly what a lot of us experience is finally we're in a place where we're getting together. So if you are the owner of a company and you want to have people that really know how to lead at that organization, both technically and from just a leadership perspective, it's an investment that you truly need to consider.
Question for you, Alan. Keith's role or Keith's company, manufacturer or integrator?
Oh, that's a great question. They manufacture the lids to the mason jars, I think. I think it's manufacturer. I'm going off of discussions I had with him, but
yeah,
I believe
are they going down the path of a digital transformation, if you will, getting rid of the sneaker net and the pieces of paper and all the rest of that and trying to figure out what's next?
Yeah. I think they're interested in it. I think that part of their journey has been, like a lot of people within our industry, right? It's not analysis or paralysis by analysis, but it's like, I don't want to make the wrong decision, right? We're making decisions for our company, and so I think that they're trying to get all the information and understand what the best route is and which best. So they've talked to like the Opto 22s, and they're looking into ignition, and they're looking into some of these technologies that are really pushing into this industry 4.0, right? Which again, the industry 4.0 is really a matter of, one, it's, as Walker would tell you, we're in a time. This is a time of industry 4.0. This is not it's not a catchphrase or no, we're moving, that the world is moving in, has actually probably 10 years ago has moved into the 4.0 industry. The problem is in manufacturing or in industrial control, we don't know how to transition out of industry 3.0 to industry 4.0, and we're stuck.
There you go. I was going to make the point.
Yeah. So if you look at your phone, right? You look at the reality of 10 years ago, what your cell phone looked like, and today, and the drastic change in the fact of I'm connected to anybody. I can move a file or a picture to the web, to OneDrive or whatever iCloud, whatever. But I can then take those pictures and move them right into machine learning, almost at no cost. It's incredible what we can do personally on a cell phone that costs us $1,000. That's amazing. So how does industry specifically control the industrial control space take advantage of that. And it is a scary, scary place for people who have been told over and over again, stay away from the cloud, stay away from Ethernet, stay all these things. And it's been such a disservice, in my opinion, because as an operational technology architect, right, that has really been thinking through these things for years, here's where I'm trying to help people understand. Stop being reactive. We have technology today that we can go to our C-class, the CFO, the CEO. We can start to talk to them about, don't worry about cybersecurity. We have the technology today that will protect you. What we need to do is we need to take advantage of that technology, and in taking advantage of the technology, build such a strong foundation that cybersecurity becomes a non-issue, not a non-issue, but a best-in-class kind of
limiting. It's not a limiting factor
exactly
to your internal access.
Yeah. So if you take that answer, so Keith, his company, Mason Jar, manufacturer, boss, they're evaluating some things, but let's assume, we could ask more clarifying questions, but let's assume for right now, they don't have a whole lot of background in this. They start to hear about some of these tools, and they're just trying to figure out where to start. It's sort of like a situation we run into a lot. A lot of companies will start right down at the technology. Let's start to figure that out. Let's do that. Well, let's back up a little bit and figure out where are we trying to go? What business problem are we trying to solve? Get that down before we then start to figure out technology, because it goes business challenge, hypothesis, information to solve the hypothesis, data to convert into information, and then finally we get down to technology. But if they're starting at technology, they're going to wrap themselves around the axle. Yeah. So
I agree.
What it does is it gives them that framework. They might have grown up, if you will, in Industry 3.0, and they're going to be looking at all the big providers of the proprietary solutions and look at them and say, oh, that is the solution. Big honking chunk of money and big, how many years and all the rest of that kind of stuff. Or let's actually take a step back and let's get into the mastermind, because you're going to get philosophies and strategies and a framework for how to make these technology decisions and to put all those pieces into place. So they will very likely, I don't want to overstate, but they could make a whole lot of bad decisions without a good solid framework to work by. And this mastermind can give you a really good solid framework.
So I've got to be assuming that the cost of this thing is in the $15,000 to $30,000 a year range, right? 100,000. What are we talking?
Right, it's $3,000 per year, like $249 a month. It might be a little more now. So Zach, if you're listening, don't get mad at me. But it's about there. Yeah, $3,000 a year, somewhere there.
Okay, so the ideal answer, I think, Alan, is Keith and his boss should be in Mastermind together.
That's a good point.
Because Keith's gonna get onto this, and you think about that type of guy, that self-motivated, passionate. Yep. The fact that he's already in his mind looking down the road saying, I'm not going to be equipped in an Industry 3.0 company for my long haul. Well, he's only going to get frustrated if he's just trying to sell up with no buy-in above him. So what really needs to happen is Keith and his boss need to take this together, and they need to dream together, and they need to So cool thing, David, Kevin, we've already committed at Canary. We're going to start enrolling our team in Mastermind.
Awesome.
Now, we're not going to put everybody in at once, because we want to progressively add people in and continue, I think, maybe not versions, right? But I assume every Mastermind class will be slightly different as it grows and not matures, but advances. And so we're going to slowly start to put everybody in at Canary, myself included. Alan, I think it's something you and I should take together at the same time. At $3,000, that's stupid cheap.
So
for the value.
Go ahead.
Just in the fact that you two met each other. Okay, so I just want you to think through and answer for us the ROI on your $3,000 investment simply because the two of you met each other. Go.
I can't put a number on it. It's
how many projects
what's the ROI on my cell phone, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's the relationship is, it's priceless, and I don't mean to wax poetic here, but we've been able to get together and do some really cool things. And it's not just Kevin and me. It's us and a whole lot of other people that work together to do things.
We have, I mean, to put a couple numbers to it, I think we might have worked on 7 to 10 projects so far. We have another 5 or 7 lined up that we're working on together. We're exploring our companies talking and working together more, actually open, sharing, connecting kind of thing, as opposed to the other way that a lot of other companies used to and sadly sometimes still work. Our internal people are learning a lot from David as well. What else? We've done a lot of videos, so the community is getting a lot of value out of our joint efforts as well. We did a number of videos and webinars last year. We're going to be doing a lot more this year. Dave, should I go on? Is there more?
No, it's hard to put the number on it. And I guess from an ROI standpoint, it's always, we got to know, what's the ROI? If I make this investment to digitally transform, what's my payback? And I'm just like, you really can't put a number on it. It becomes it's almost, you need to do it. And sometimes there's the trust me. I was going to say earlier, when I've worked for, I'm going to call them the legacy software companies, they would charge that amount of money for just a seat. Right. Where once you walked away,
5-day training,
you got 5 days of lunch. And I don't know that you really learned anything like you do within the mastermind. So even joining now, you get access.
Now you got a book of paper that you got to go home with that I still have a stack of around here, that because you couldn't get it digitally because you may give that away, and that would be terrible. But
yeah. Okay. I digress. You did get a big binder of stuff, and how often you go back and look at that?
Never.
I can tell you, I go back and watch videos from the very beginning all the time, because I remember we did something. How did we do that again? There was some idea or concept that got shared that I want to revisit that conversation. You go back and do it all the time.
Countless times. Yeah, I've been through them.
Yeah. Okay, I think it's interesting too, having because it's one thing, and I've met some great people in some of that 5-day training classes I've been in, right? So over my 33 years in the industry, I've been through a bunch of them, and met like really good people. But in that 5 days, you don't have, at least for me, and I'm a pretty outgoing person, I never had that ability to make the connections with those people that were sustained. Like, there was some emails back and forth, and we've made some attempts, but nothing that sustained like the relationship that you and Kevin have, right? So, so now you're not just getting hey, I've gotten, I'm getting together once a month with these guys, and I'm getting this learnings and all the help, but now you have a network and you're connected on a long-term basis. So I think that in itself, and having I watched, I'll give you an example. I watched Josh, is it Vargas from Hat Life? So I watched his Manufacturing Hub channel that he did, the episode he did. And so funny, because I was talking to Benson Hoagland, and Benson was like, that guy is the guy. He's like, if you want to know anything about networks and all this stuff, you need to talk to that guy. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go watch the episode. Watch the episode and blown away. It's like, man, I'm so impressed. So I reached out to him, and I'm like, hey man, I want to, get like connected with you, because I think there's some value with what you do and some of the things in the consulting side that I do. And man, just the ability to have that kind of an opportunity to just go, hey, reach out to somebody and go, hey, I need help, and I've got access to the guy who can help. Like, that's amazing. So
is that Josh from Austin?
Yeah, that's Josh, same guy that we've worked with before for networking. Yeah, exactly. He's the person. That's the cool thing, is you start meeting all of these people that it seems like you've been invited to the club.
Exactly.
And it's, as I said very early on, it's a feature of 4.0, tremendous amount of collaboration, and there's an SME for just about anything you need.
Yeah.
Wow.
and they're happy to help.
So how do we, as we start to transition, because towards the backside of our chat, what's the call to action here? How does someone who's listening to this today, and also someone who might find this video 6 months from now, where do they go? When can they enroll? Help us out with that.
That's a good question. I mean, we just use it. I don't know.
Well,
Do you know?
so, yeah, join the Discord. Go to 4.0 Solutions on YouTube. There's a weekly Q&A.
Yep.
There are some free courses you can enroll in through at iiot.university. That is the URL for the website for all the training that's done. Free IoT mini course. I would enroll in that. That gives you a good foundation. And if what you see there is of interest, and the conversations you're having within the Discord community, I'd say if you just want to get started, you at least check out the Mastermind, mentorship. And if you want more, to me personally, the value is in the mentorship. That's where you're going to learn all the same things you do in the mentorship, but within Mastermind, you learn a whole lot more.
What's the cost of the mentorship, just so we have clarity on that?
It used to be, I think, $49 a month, but I think that's moved to a fixed price model. Maybe it's $1,000 for lifetime.
If you go to iiot.university and then click on the store link at the top, you can see the current pricing for the Digital Factory Mastermind and also the Industry 4.0 mentorship.
There you go.
So in a screen share now.
Yep, there you go.
iiot.university.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And right here in the second section. So bear in mind when you're watching this video, it might have changed since. But here's where I can go sign up for my Mastermind training. Here is the Industry 4.0 mentorship program.
Who was that guy in the picture down there?
Yeah, right. There you go.
Oh, and look here, we've even got a nice little here. Both you guys are on here.
Yeah.
We did all right. And there's a free 1 hour Mastermind training that you can watch. So really, if you're interested, I would say that it looks like iiot.university is a great place to go land and start. And from there, I have found in here that if I come to, there it is, our transparent pricing section, annual subscription, $3,000 billed annually, or I can do it on a monthly. And that will then take me to where I can sign up and go ahead and right here, there's my online checkout.
Do it. I'm
in. Let's go ahead and David, credit card number, please.
Yeah.
No, nice. Well, so what's next as we wrap up, David? What's next on your plate? Like, what are you passionate about right now that you're working on, or that you're looking forward to start? And Kevin, you can prep. I'm going to ask you the same question.
So right now, I am a technology person. I go back to the fact that I ran the film projector when I was in grade school, and I took apart everything growing up to figure out how those types of things worked. So for me, I spend a lot more time technically speaking. Right now, I'm fully baking out a unified namespace that includes all of the transactions that occur at the business level. The idea is that when I create a quote, can that automatically trigger purchase order to vendors and actually schedule the work at a particular plant based on some of the information that I'm learning just from simply doing the quote. So rather than the process of doing the quote and booking the order and then ordering the material and then scheduling the work and that's done for you automatically. So
are you spending $3 million and taking 3 years to implement that project, Dave? Like it might otherwise take manufacturers?
No. It's once you understand the architecture and how to do these things, it just becomes you create it once and then roll out instances of whatever that solution looks like. So that's one of them. And then also spending some time around a program called CodeSys. Some people call it Code Assist, but that's an open IDE, the integrated development environment for PLC programming. So spending some time with that because it now supports, I believe, 200 different manufacturers. I'm a firm believer in that the open architectures are going to be those that will succeed long term. So
Awesome.
Hey, before we get to Kevin, you sparked something that I want to just share with you so I'm actually in the process of creating CFC code assist templates, working with Gary Pratt on the OOIP. And so what we're doing is my vision, and I would like to get you connected to this. My vision is from the PLC code, create the context and the modeling and the structure and properties needed so that I can potentially publish from the PLC code, unified namespace, single source of truth, and then whether it's Canary, whether it's TATSOF or Ignition or whatever, is subscribing to that single source of truth. But the reality is I can then from that broker connect to machine learning, data scientists, whatever, and now I have the data quality, I've got the contextualization, and so what we're doing is I'm working with a few people, and Gary Pratt is kind of helping us like be the technical architect on the validation and everything. And so for the purpose of once we have all this done, we want to give it away, right? We want to give it to the community to say, hey, let's actually start doing this in a manner that is consistent, but is actually getting the context and the modeling done at the source with the data quality baked into it. So now whoever subscribes to that data just gets the goodness of all of that, right?
I'm a firm believer that it happens at the edge. Why? And I mean, the edge is any device that's sitting at the factory floor or wherever it is next to whatever is happening. That's what I mean by edge. It knows what it knows, and it's in the best position to publish that information out. So firmly believe that is the absolute direction, and there's no reason why you can't have these microservices running right on that same what's known as a PLC that's actually capturing some of those things.
Well, not just a PLC, some small, even not that we would want to use this in the industrial space, but even a Raspberry Pi that was running code assist. Well, guess what? You spend $100, get a little IO card, a Raspberry Pi, but if you had access to like best in class practices that you could just download for an analog device. So, okay, I'm going to connect to an analog device. I grab this template. Well, now I have all of the structure. It's all defined, and all you got to do is plug your analog piece into it, and you get all the best practices, right? Even I don't know if you guys are aware of this, and Jeff, I apologize for going technical. So,
no, you go for it.
So, are you aware of the the S4 Dale Peterson they put out I want to say it's you can get it from plc-security.com, and what it is they literally have put out a 20 best practices for PLC code. So it's about securing your code, it's about integrity of your code, it's about those simple things that just like how many of us collect and track CPU usage or scan time in a PLC? Do you understand that those two things right there are a huge opportunity in the cyberspace to know when you have an anomaly because, right, all of a sudden something is impacting your processor that you didn't inject.
Yeah.
So it's some of those things. That's it. Top 20 secure PLC coding practices. It's free. You can download it. Gives examples. But starting to try to bring people together to use these best practices and build out these things and then give them to the community so that we can all like kind of raise our light level, right?
Yeah, no, I am not familiar with this particular publication, but what you talk about is cybersecurity is a huge concern. It continues to be. From my perspective, you need to be able to open the information up. You architect systems that bake in as much security as you can, and then you bring in these tools to monitor what's happening within your process. And when there's anomalies detected, that's when it presents that information, and we then take action. So it's right in line.
Yeah. All right, Kevin, you're up, man. We're excited about. What do you got working on?
Well, it was a good link. I just sent that to some of our team, so this is good stuff. Thank you. Three things. First, giving back to the community more than we've received, and that's getting, like I said before, those videos, webinars, just like, hey, here's how this stuff works. Second, scaling up the work that we're doing for companies. Every one of our projects is fantastically interesting. One of the things we're starting to work on now, connect to a couple machines for a company that's in the Philadelphia area, but she wants to scale from 1 machine to 56 machines, and I suspect she's going to be blown away by how little work it really requires to scale to 56 machines for that little downtime OEE kind of solution. And again, it goes back to the mastermind and to the mentorship, using all of those kinds of concepts out there. So scaling up, because a lot of companies are asking for this. And third, most interestingly, I think, is that we're now starting to develop some products that are going to be, follow this open technology kind of idea that, again, we learn about in the mentorship and mastermind that Dave just referenced. One of those these products fall under the umbrella of MES, if you will, of the 11 typical capabilities of an MES. One of them is an MES Lite tool, OEE downtime. Another is production scheduling, using some pretty interesting concepts that work really well for discrete manufacturing. It's a phenomenal time to be doing this kind of stuff, meeting a lot of great people, building up great networks of people to connect with, and, work with, and also be friends with, like Dave. A lot of exciting stuff.
It is exciting, and we get to do this all over again with you this week in just a couple of days, don't we?
Yeah.
Ready for it. Awesome.
Wednesday, 10 o'clock Central. It's the rundown. We'll talk about our project from last week's virtual workshop, and looking forward to getting your guys' input on that. All right, so here's my takeaways. I understand now how mentorship works, and I understand how Digital Factory Mastermind works inside of the greater 4.0 solutions community. I also understand that Alan and I need to enroll. I understand that we need to help when we meet guys like Keith. We need to help them sell this offering internally. They need to understand how to frame this and position the value add to their companies. And it's really all about the networking too, right? It's about who you meet. It's about who you have access to. I love the fact that Kevin here sits as president of an integration firm and someone who could be an uprising star engineer still at university level could say, hey, this is the best $3,000 tuition I'll ever spend as a rising engineer, and would have access to a president of an integration firm, would have access to a senior solutioner like David, would have access to, I mean, really just it's anybody that's part of that. It flattens, I should say, the hierarchical structure of typical organizations that you'd never have access to.
I want to comment on that real fast. Yeah. So within the community, there's been these quote unquote study groups that have formed. And there's one that Kevin and I are a part of that meets Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. So there are people that are out on the West Coast at 6 a.m. We have a pretty good show every other Saturday, but talking about access, we've had Walker has come on that call. We've had Arlen Nipper from Cirrus Link on that call. We've had Gary Pratt on that call. So it's having access and just, being involved with some of the things here. It's the rundown we're going to do later. It's talking with Benson. It's talking with, just some people that are well known in the automation industry. And that's been the best thing, because I'm always walking with giants, and I'm humbled to be a part of it.
Yeah, me too.
It's exciting. It's really exciting things, especially when you think like in the moment, you don't understand in the moment that you're in these cohorts, and you don't understand the people that you actually have access to. I think about the modern art movement, right? There's a really cool museum here in Northwest Arkansas. It's got all these incredible American modern art installations, and they formed these cohorts of these artists in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s in New York, and they were producing art, not having any. Rothko had no idea that what he was producing would be selling for $5, $6, $10 million later on. That people would be faking it just to sell into the art world. But they were in these cohorts back then that they never understood the magnitude of the cohort they were in. And what you just described makes me think of the fact that 30, 40, 50 years from now, people might look back on that Saturday morning bi-monthly cohort and say, do you realize who these guys had access and these gals had access to? The Edisons, the Rockefellers, the Rothkos, of their fields. And at the time, no one understands that. Anyway.
I suspect you're looking at one of them. It's Dave. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. I mean, come on. Look at that guy. All right. We've embarrassed David. That means our mission is. I'm sitting here freezing. I need to go stand in my corner for 30 minutes.
All right.
Do you know why, Alan?
I have no idea why, but I'm assuming you
it's
did
90
something to
degrees
Jess.
in the corner.
And Jess has told you to get in the corner.
No, David, when you're cold, why do you go to the corner?
It's always 90 degrees in the corner.
Oh, God.
Come on, guys.
I'm sorry.
Come on.
My bad.
All right.
I like geometry jokes. I'm always in good shape when I'm done telling them.
I don't know. I find them a bit obtuse sometimes. Too.
Okay. Does that mean the end is nigh, please?
All right. And with that, guys, let's sign off. Hope everybody has a wonderful week. Thank you for your time, guys. And thank you to those that joined us. We hope you appreciate the content.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Great. Talk to you guys soon.